podcast where we talk about leadership and impact by pulling up a chair and leaning into intentional conversation. Each episode highlights the impact of our alumni and friends who have helped shape and expand the table for women across Indiana. I'm Anne Hathaway, Executive Director of the Lugar Series, and today I'm honored to be joined by my friend Brenda Gerber Vincent. Brenda is a 2012 graduate of the Lugar Series, a former board member, and a longtime leader in Indiana and specifically Fort Wayne, Indiana. She currently serves as Chief Growth Officer at Greater Fort Wayne, Inc., where she leads initiatives focused on economic development and community investment. Brenda, thanks for being with us today.
Thank you for including me and inviting me this afternoon.
So I know from our private conversations, you and I have a lot in common. And specifically, when we graduated from college, we were both hell-bent on going to Washington, D.C.
That's all I wanted to do.
So tell us about how you got started coming out of college, a little bit about your journey so we can get to know you better.
I graduated from Indiana University. I was a political science minor, communication major. Now they have really cool titles to all of the majors. Back then we didn't. But went to Washington, D.C., and at that time was an intern in Congressman Dan Coates' office. He was in the middle of his term, which was a lot of fun.
This was his first term,
His first term. So he was kind of a junior congressman, really kind of finding his way. But it was a great way to start in Washington. And then did, a lot of things with the staff and with the Lugar Series staff. He was the chairman of the committee, the Foreign Affairs Committee. And we always hung out in his office at the end of the day because he would give us his reception tickets.
Oh, that's awesome.
And that's the way we ate dinner.
I remember those days.
We would wait for Senator Lugar to come back into the office after being, at his committee meetings, and he would pass out tickets to all of us he knew that's the way we were sustaining ourselves. And then once a week we would go to American Cafe. I don't know if that was part of your routine, but American Cafe was definitely on our Friday night list. But yeah, Washington was magical. I absolutely loved my time there.
So how long were you there, and when did you come back to Indiana?
Well, I was there for almost a year, so did a very short amount of time, but ended up connecting with Randy Tobias. Mm-hmm. So Randy Tobias has been a mentor. So we first connected at Indiana University, our love of IU, and then we reconnected in Washington, D.C. So at that time, it was the divestiture of the Bell system, and it was when we picked our long-distance companies, and that was a long time ago. It was an exciting time, though, in our economy because we were establishing AT&T, so we had the consumer division. Mm-hmm. He then took me to Basking Ridge, New Jersey, hired me out of Washington, D.C. I followed him to Basking Ridge, New Jersey, where I worked in the consumer division of AT&T when we picked our long-distance company. So he continued to be a mentor, not only when we were in Washington, but then on when I was actually working with him in New Jersey.
Okay, so New Jersey. We're still not back in Indiana. So when did you get here?
Well, then I was actually transferred. I had a conversation with Randy and said, I would really love to be back in the Midwest.
I got to go home.
I'm a Midwestern girl. I really wanted to find my way back here. And he said, I can get you to Chicago. That's as close as I can get you to Indiana. And I said, I'll take it. So I was actually part of the Chicago Bulls account. It was one of the very first corporate athletic kind of like athletic combination where we were the Chicago Bulls. We did the long distance shootout. Mm-hmm. So AT&T had our name on the Chicago Bulls, and I actually ran that. So I picked the people who did the long distance shootout. It was a lot of fun. In my
that's awesome.
It was awesome. It was awesome.
So you got to Chicago, and then when did you get to Indiana?
Then I went from Chicago, and I met my first husband, and we then went to Solon, Ohio, where I continued to work for AT&T, and then we kind of went from there. I have lived in 7 different metros across the United States.
Wow.
My first husband's job took us everywhere from Atlanta to Orlando to the Hamptons. We lived in the Hamptons for a couple years, and so Chicago and Ohio. And so I've lived in 7 different metros across the United States.
Wow.
So I really have a really wonderful perception of what it means to live in smaller cities, big cities, all across the country.
You really do. You kind of have your finger on the way people think and how the community is engaging.
I did.
Which probably leads you to the job that you're in today. How long were you with AT&T?
I was with, I think, for 6 years. And it spanned from Basking Ridge, New Jersey to Chicago, and then ended it in Solon, Ohio.
Wow.
Solon, Ohio, and then ended up leaving the company.
Good for
And then
you.
during that time, I was raising kids. I served on several boards. I founded and established a nonprofit in Fort Wayne, Indiana, but was still, finding my way around the country and raising kids. And it was a very happy chapter in my life.
It's a cool story, and I'm going to come back to the not-for-profit in a few minutes. But I want to talk about what you're doing now. Okay. You're back in your hometown. You're a fourth-generation Fort Wayne native, and the community has clearly played a major role in your life, and frankly, your leadership journey as well. What was it about growing up in Fort Wayne and what you're doing now that led you to
Right.
to where you are today and this experience in all these communities?
Right. Well, there's a lot of irony in that, actually, because when I was growing up in Fort Wayne, being a fourth generation Fort Wayne native, I don't know, I was kind of embarrassed by it because I wanted to get out. I mean, during that time in the 80s was truly the brain drain. Like, people wanted out. There really wasn't a lot to stay in Fort Wayne for. We didn't have an exciting downtown. I knew more about Indianapolis and Chicago than I ever did about. So, going to Indiana University and then heading to Washington. But it was after living in the 7 different metros did I appreciate what Fort Wayne had to offer. I couldn't wait to get back.
That's cool.
And I've even done 2, I call them 2 tours of duty in Indianapolis. So I've lived in Indianapolis for a total of 10 years. So I really do have kind of an idea of what different metros are like, what different cities are like. So it just upped my appreciation for Fort Wayne.
So explain your job today. What do you do?
Sure. Well, as Chief Growth Officer, we are both Greater Fort Wayne Inc. I'll start there. Mm-hmm. It's a combination of both the Chamber of Commerce and the Economic Development. So we do across the board. So we have 19 people every day that wake up and really impact quality of place. Attract new businesses, help businesses expand in our area. I spend a lot of time on talent attraction and then on the retention side, making sure when people do get to Fort Wayne that they fall in love with our community.
And they don't want to leave.
And they never want to leave. And you know what? That's what's happening.
That's exciting. I think as people in Indianapolis don't appreciate unless they go up to Fort Wayne, realistically what's happening. I know that the GOP convention is there this summer, and people think back to when the baseball stadium was first built and they got to see it for the first time. It was impressive then, but I've had the opportunity to be up there since, and it's even more than it was. And
it really is.
You have an exciting downtown, and there's just a lot of things happening. Right. One of the things I admire most about Fort Wayne is that it is one of the most Republican areas of the state. However, you have a Democrat mayor.
We do.
And y'all get along and have been able to come up with one vision and get stuff done.
We do.
How does that work?
You know what? It just does. I think that's part of our secret sauce is that we have a lot of amazing leaders. I mean, truly amazing leaders that reside in Allen County and Northeast Indiana. And I think we have one overall agenda, and that's creating a quality of place that people want to move to and that they want to stay. And it just works. And we work really hard. We have great work ethic. And it tells in the numbers. I mean, we're one of the fastest growing metros in the Great Lakes region and have been for the last 4 years.
It's an amazing story. And I want to go back to the fact that you didn't imagine a life in Fort Wayne when you were growing up, but you're back there. And I know that when you and I have talked about our parents a lot, and I know we were both especially close to them, and they had a huge impact. What did you learn from them, and what are those memories you have about their roles in the community, and how did that impact you?
Right.
And when you came back, it all kind of came full circle.
You know, I'm glad you brought up my parents. They're my favorite subject to talk about. Like you, I was incredibly blessed with 2 amazing people. Not just parents, but as individuals, they were equally amazing. My mom was more on the quiet side, but she was like this quiet, stealth giant that got a lot of things done. My dad was bigger than life and generous and kind, and he was just loved. Mm-hmm. And I think I like to say that I got the best of both of them because I really was very blessed to be raised by these amazing people. But they taught me kindness and generosity and service before I even really had words to even, like, I didn't really have words when I was growing up. I just watched them operate in the world. And I watched how they treated people, and it was quiet. You know, my father said to me once, "You'll never see my name like on a plaque or on the side of a building because what I do is so quiet. I want to impact lives, but I want to do it in a way that doesn't like bring light to me." And I've never forgotten that.
That's your style too. It's interesting. It's never about you. You're always about the role that you're in all the different places that I've known you. Um, I didn't realize that had come from your father, but that's really special. And in so many ways, he was a mentor to you.
He was. They both were. I've lost them both in the last 3 years, and I think there isn't time that goes past that I don't think about the impact and influence they've had on my life. And I think that I was resolute that I was going to continue on their legacy, and that I was going to live even bigger and more bolder and more generous, and really, live by the principles that they raised me with, to be a good human being and to live with integrity, and character is my number one, value. And I get that from them.
I love that. I love that. And it means a lot to share that in common with you. It means a lot to me because I feel the same way about my parents. They're just hardworking, and they did the things because it was the right reason.
The right thing.
Yeah, the right thing, not because it was politically correct or it was cool. It was just, and they really cared about their communities.
Right.
Now, you mentioned Randy Tobias,
yes.
and obviously we talked about your dad as a mentor. Who have been other mentors in your career?
I have had amazing mentors. If there's a book to be written inside of me, it's
about, write a book?
I don't know. I think about it, but I think about all the people that have poured into me, and why it's so important for me to pour into others. I had mentioned, I was surrounded by some of the greatest men in the world. I mean, when you talk about Senator Lugar, when you talk about Congressman Coates, when you talk about, Randy Tobias, but I'll also add Kurt Semick. Wow. Oh my goodness, he was, and still my mentor. Yeah. I've never made a decision, a professional decision without Kurt's input. So he became a mentor of mine while at Indiana University. I think thousands of people call Kurt Semick their mentor. I'm certain of it. But you know what? He's just been a special force in my life. I really watched how he treated people.
For those that don't know him,
yes.
Can you tell us
sure.
who he is?
He was when I was at IU. He was the Indiana University Foundation president. Mm-hmm. So he was responsible for bringing in the money to the university, mm-hmm. and he did it better than anybody, in my opinion, in the world.
But he got to know you as students and as an adult in order to grow that relationship to make him more successful in his profession.
Right. Well,
but it was because he did it from his heart.
Oh, and he did it, again, he didn't do it with fanfare. He was a fundraiser that never really asked for money. I learned from him between Kurt Semick and Bob Grand. Uh-huh. That was a master class. That was a class for me. I got to work very closely with both of them when it came to fundraising, both university fundraising, nonprofit fundraising, and political fundraising. I felt like it was trifecta of fundraising, and I got to learn it from two of the best.
Two of the best. Absolutely. That's awesome. Yeah. So did you work with Bob when you were working with Mrs. Pence, when you were chief of staff and at the residence?
Yes. Well, I was first asked by then Congressman Pence that he was going to run for governor for the state of Indiana.
Right.
And I had we had just finished with the Hughes campaign.
Okay.
So I was asked by
Paula Hughes for mayor?
Yes, Paula Hughes for mayor. It's quite a while ago, but I took a leap of faith on that one. I had never really done political fundraising at that level. I ended up having so much fun and realized I was actually quite good at it.
That probably set you up too, again, with relationships for the role that you're currently in as well.
Right.
Oh, wow. I forgot about that chapter.
Yes.
Okay.
So that chapter, we raised $1.2 million. Unfortunately, that train ended, and I needed to get off and decide what I was going to do next. And a call came from Bill Smith, who was working with Congressman Mike Pence. He was going to run for governor for the state of Indiana, and he said, "Would you consider coming and raising the money for my campaign as the deputy finance director?" And I said yes.
That's awesome.
That was on a Friday, and I moved to Indianapolis on Monday.
Holy moly.
Yeah, we raised about 16. Robin Connect and I, who is just, again, a force when it comes to, fundraising, but about $16.5 million in that race. And we had so much fun. Those that was a very fun race, and obviously we won on that one.
Right. And so you won, and then you were offered a job in the administration.
I was. Well, before that, was offered to do the inauguration and all the inaugural events. So,
wow.
So Robin and I got to do the gala and all the events that go into that. So that was really special.
Those were great days.
Yes, and then both Mike and Karen came and they were talking about filling the roles in their administration. And they were starting with their chief of staff, and Bill Smith was already in place as Mike Pence's chief of staff. And they asked me if I would serve as Karen's chief of staff. And again, I jumped at the opportunity and said yes.
So it's funny. One of the questions I was going to ask you was, did you ever have to take a leap of faith professionally? And realistically, there have been a number of chapters where it wasn't necessarily part of the plan, but
Right.
you took a leap of faith and it worked out really well.
Really well. And I've always, when I mentor young leaders, and I always say, if you make a decision and it's not the right one, you can make another one. But I would say that where I had courage and where I took leaps of faith is I often found myself in a position where I was offered a job and I wasn't sure I had all the skills that I needed to do it, and I did it anyway. And I learned on the job, and I learned what it took. And in some ways, I brought my own kind of flair to it. And so it wasn't necessarily what I needed, what I already needed to bring with me to do the job. It's what I already had inside of me to do the job. So
I think that's so important. It's such a lesson for young women and women on the professional ladder, but it's also been really important with the Lugar Series with regard to women who are thinking about engaging in public service or running for office and thinking that they got to know everything about everybody.
No.
And everything and every policy. And so I appreciate that you shared that because I think it's just something we have to keep reiterating, especially to women leaders.
I do, but I think we have it in us. I mean, I had it in me, when Karen asked me to serve as her chief of staff, there hadn't been another first lady that had really assumed the role in quite a while. So Mitch Daniels' wife never really assumed the role outside of being involved with the state fair. She didn't have an office in the state house. I don't think they moved into the residence of my residence. So there really wasn't. So we were creating it. We were creating it on our own. But I really took what the first lady, what her dream was, what her goal was, and she really wanted to impact art and education, and that's what we set our agenda around.
Did it ever occur to you when asked to say no?
Gosh, no, I don't think it did. Matter of fact, I said yes on the spot because I knew that this was an opportunity that you don't interview for. I mean, this is an opportunity that I was teed up for, that I had worked as the deputy finance director. We had worked very, very hard to raise the money that was needed to run the successful campaign that ultimately, led to the governor's office. And then to be in this position, to even be considered to be the chief of staff for the first lady of Indiana. And Mike and Karen served so closely together that there were many times where, I would be accompanying both of them, or I would be, we would be working toward common policy goals. And Karen was so supportive of Mike's agenda. And it went both ways. I mean, they're truly a team.
So true. And, but you were a big part of it, whether you're so, just your personality, you're not going to take credit for what you did behind the scenes, but so much of your role was strategic thinking and pushing and planning and thinking about growth and opportunities and putting things together. In so many ways, it set you up for what you're doing today in Fort Wayne.
So much of it. And I think, I'll go back to, my time in Indianapolis, my time serving, being in the Lugar Series class. That's where I developed my statewide network. That kind of defined my ability to be able to pick up the phone and get things done. And as you've pointed out, which I humbly will agree with, like, I really am, one of my superpowers is really creating opportunities for others to succeed, making sure that others have what they need to be successful. I don't need the light. And I'm more of a humble leader. I'm a number two.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you'll remember this, but we were talking one afternoon after a Lugar Series class, And I said to you, are you ever going to run for elected office? And you said, you know what? I can get so much done behind the scene. I can be a powerful force or impact. I don't remember the exact words. I just love
being the behind the scenes person.
But that really resonated with me. I'm a great number 2. That doesn't mean that I can't serve as a number 1, but I'm really good at that behind the scenes strategy work to make sure. I'm also an incrementalist and I'm also a visionary. So the combination of those 3 kind of have been, the secret to my success is I can see long term. I can incrementally figure out how to get there. And I think I'm humble enough that I can rise with the people around me if they rise to know that we all rise.
For sure. So when you decided, obviously, I thank you for sharing that nugget about one of the things that influenced you with regard to the Lugar Series, but you were already pretty accomplished when you decided to apply to the Lugar Series and participate in the class. What was your motivation to participate? Were you thinking about running for office?
Well, and that actually was that was influenced by Paula Hughes. So Paula was a graduate at that point, and I was interested in it. I'm a lifetime learner. I still love to learn. I still love taking classes and doing things online. And so it was interesting to me that I was going to, that I was going to learn at this level. I was even more excited to get to know the women in the class. I mean, there's several people that I'm still really close to this day. They've influenced, my career. And so it was an exciting time for me because I'd kind of entered the political arena. I had gotten the opportunity to serve, and then soon after that was asked to work in the Pence administration. So it was kind of like everything was kind of building in a direction, if you'd say.
Right.
So I was being prepared for the next step.
So I think about your career and those learning opportunities, how are you using them to influence other women to engage? And I know that you've hired Lugar Series women, that you've encouraged them to be on boards, to run for office. How do you use what you've learned to give them confidence to take risk?
I think one is being a role model. I've taken a lot of risks. I would say that I am a bold leader, but that doesn't mean that I'm seeking the light. It just means I'm bold with my decisions. It means that, I make a decision and I own it. I'm a rapid external processor, so I can get to some place very quickly of where I want to go. I take responsibility for the decisions I do make. But I think so being number one, a good role model, having, being someone that young leaders can look up to. The other one is being available. I always wanted to be that leader who was available to other leaders. I had mentioned before that the majority of the mentors in my life were men. And I really wanted to turn that around. I would have loved to have had female leaders, but for most of my career, and I would say for a lot of women my age, we were the only women in the room.
Right.
And that was true for me then. And I would say that's primarily true for me now. I mean, a lot of the rooms I'm in, I'm the only woman.
And I experienced the same thing. One of the other questions I have is that are there still barriers? And obviously being the only woman in the room is what I would consider sometimes a barrier. But what else? Are there other barriers that you're facing now that you just want to kind of go whoosh?
Yeah. Oh, there's quite a few barriers that I'm facing, and I want to go back because I don't think I answered the last question very well. But what am I doing to help other leaders? I do these things where if I'm asked to be on a committee or a board, and right now I'm tapped. I'm not taking on any additional assignments, or right now I'm just at a good place with the number of boards I have, the number of committees. But what I do is I always offer 2 or 3 other women and lift them up, whether it be a committee.
Do they know that you're offering them?
Yes, I have a list. I have literally it's in my phone, but I have a list of women that literally I am seeking board positions for actively. It's not something I do passively. It's something I do intentionally. So there are these just rock star women in our community that I would love to plug in. And these are women that may not be known by name. They may not be somebody that's on everybody's radar, but man, they are gonna change Fort Wayne given the chance.
I'm gonna go back to the barrier question, but I think one of the other questions that you've brought to mind is that you are so bold in promoting other women and encouraging them and being a role model. But there's still women who are threatened by other women, or women that don't recommend other women because they don't want them to get ahead. That's not in your DNA.
It's there. It is. It's nowhere in my DNA. Matter of fact, I don't understand it at a very base level. I'm not competitive. I receive more joy from watching other people succeed than I do myself. I work to, you can ask anybody on my team, anybody that has ever worked with me or for me or by me, I've put a lot more energy into their careers than I do my own. I mean, I really sincerely want women to succeed. I want everyone to succeed. But my primary focus for the last 20 years has been women.
And you haven't been threatened. You know, you don't feel threatened by them. You just find joy in their success.
Tons of it. Tons of joy.
Wow, I think that's such a good lesson for us all to be reminded that if we're giving and we're raising women up, that opportunities will present, and that there's plenty for all.
There is, and every year it's my goal to promote at least one woman into the Lugar Series. It's up to them how they do in the interview and all of that. But you know what? I wanted to make a difference. There just wasn't enough representation from Northeast Indiana on any boards or any commissions down here in Indianapolis. And, you know, we struggle with that. I mean, I'll take you back to a story when I was in the Pence administration. I was known for the woman that was always asking, is there somebody from Northeast Indiana? So much so that I would be in meetings and Governor Pence would say to me, yes, Brenda, there's somebody from Fort Wayne on the board. Because I was always, you know, we just need representation. We're not in the shadows in Northeast Indiana. I mean, we're a force. We're going on all cylinders. And I think one of the special reasons is because women are looked at as the next generation of leaders. I mean, there are so many rock stars, men and women.
That's awesome.
That are ready to take the reins.
And if I recall, Fort Wayne has a female mayor right now.
It's not our first one.
I was going to say it's not a Republican. It's, and you and I have both worked on a couple of those that we thought, but you do have a female mayor, which distinguishes you as a major metropolitan area in the state. She's
terrific. I just interviewed her yesterday.
Oh, really?
I did. We were talking about some of the policies that she's working on right now. We're looking at some policies on, you know, the unhoused in Fort Wayne, and we're looking at a possible quarry that's coming on. We're talking about data centers and generators. That takes up up a lot of my time. But we were really talking yesterday. She leads with transparency. Faith drives her decision making. She has an open door on Wednesday where you can come in and talk to her. I really admire her. I think she's doing a
well. And what I
job.
appreciate is, once again, despite politics, y'all are really focused on Fort Wayne.
That's the only thing that matters to me. And I said this, the thing that challenges me is when people's personal agenda gets in the way of the greater good. And as long as you are fighting for what's right for our community, I am for you.
That's cool.
I really am. And everybody knows that. Everybody knows that in Fort Wayne, that I'm just over the drama. We have too much work to do.
So as I talk to you, I'm reminded once again that one of the things that about you're always joyous. You're always so positive. You're so enthusiastic, so encouraging. Does Brenda Vincent ever have a bad day?
Yes, I definitely have a bad day. And you know what? I am. My base personality is one of joy and gratitude. I wake up in the morning and I have this ritual, and as silly as it is, it's something that works for me. Is I wake up in the morning and I, first of all, thank God just for another day. And then I have this thing about welcoming the day. And I do this thing and I do it out loud, and I'm like, hello, Friday. I haven't met you yet. Like, we'll never have this Friday again. Like, I haven't met this day. I don't know who's going to be in it, who's going to be put in my path, who might influence me, who I might be able to influence. Like, it is that exciting to me at a core level that I get to live on this Friday. And I do that daily. So tomorrow will be hello Saturday and Sunday. But I think when you approach the day as an individual, almost like person that you haven't met, and it's going to unfold in front of you, and there's excitement in that to me.
Well, and that brings me back to your work with the Carriage House. I know that mental health, the Carriage House, have been a big part of your story, your journey. There's family history with what your role, and that it's been a mission and a labor of love.
Right.
Will you share with us the Carriage House and what you've done there in Fort Wayne?
Yes. So when I have a younger brother who is eight years younger than me. His name was Chad. And when he was 18, he was a freshman at Indiana University. And he was on the pole vaulting team. And at the end of the year, right before the Little 500, my parents got a call that my brother was really struggling, that he had thought he had started the Gulf War. He was wearing tinfoil on his ears. And, your first response is, or at least ours was, that he was probably into hallucinogenic drugs, that he had taken something that had altered his brain chemistry. And his roommates brought him home, dropped him off, and it started a journey. And it's not something that you wake up on a Wednesday thinking that we're going to get involved in major mental health issues. But my parents, they're both in the healthcare industry. They both traveled around the world trying to find the right system and the right model to bring to Fort Wayne. And they brought the Carriage House model. It's an international model of hope and purpose. But Chad was diagnosed with paranoid schizophrenia, and he died at the age of 29. But because of the work that my parents and several other families had established, the Carriage House, which was, the dream was just to provide a safe place for my brother to go, because people who have severe and significant mental health issues tend to isolate. Mm-hmm. So we wanted a place for him to go, to have purpose and to hope and to have friends. And we opened our doors almost 30 years ago. And ironically enough, Dan Coates did our ribbon cutting, which I was very thankful for, that he came back and honored my family in that way. But we did the ribbon cutting. He passed away 2 years later. So it was a labor of love. And I know that when my brother died, people said to our family, "You can walk away now."
You haven't.
No, we've committed ourselves even deeper. We are committed to not only changing the policies that center around mental health initiatives and laws, not only in our state but in the country. We've really worked hard to change the Medicare laws and the Medicaid coding that goes along with mental illness. We've been an encouragement to those people in our community. We serve over 2,000 people. We have 12 on staff. I mean, it's a really amazing program.
It's an amazing program, and I just know that so much of your heart and your passion have been there. And I also think that your outlook on mental health really influences how you face every day.
It does.
I think that I've learned that from you, from our friendship. And I think that just continues your influence on all of us.
Well, thank you. And I think, my brother died at 29. And I've been lucky to live all of these years later and kind of living for both of us. I just adored him. I absolutely adored my brother Chad. And he was another influential figure in my life. And I was lucky enough to do his eulogy. Mm-hmm. And I said, I'm going to die on a Wednesday afternoon, and people hopefully will say she was nice. But then you know what? People will go on. My brother, who had very, very little people, kind of status in the community, being that he was mentally ill, just didn't really have anything that maybe he offered to a community. But I can tell you that his legacy changed. It was his legacy that changed an entire community. It changed an entire region. It influenced an entire state. We're recognized worldwide for the work that we do. I mean, what I do is important, but what he did, and what he endured, was the legacy that would change thousands and thousands of lives. I won't even come close to the impact that my brother Chad, who is mentally ill, will have on our state.
Thank you for sharing that. And you're so humble about it. You're so right about Chad's legacy, but your continued engagement makes such a difference. Your leadership, your family's role, and thank you. Thank you so much.
It's a privilege to get to do it.
Well, and you do it well. Thanks. So thank you. I know I follow closely what you do with the Carriage House, and have huge respect for your continued passion. You know, it'd be easy to say, "Oh, we did it," but you do every single year. You also, as you mentioned, every single year refer someone to the Lugar Series. You've been a former board member, and so as we seek to wrap up our discussion today, I'm going to ask you, what's the Lugar Series and your participation meant to you?
Oh my goodness, it's been a transformational experience for me. It's the people that I've met. Some of the people that stand out to me that are Lugar Series graduates are Amanda Muldoon, who now sits on the board. It's Lindsay Hanna, who now is doing such great things with Policy Circle. Those things have really impacted and influenced our community in a big way.
And you've had so much growth in their help to grow their lives. I mean, I came to know them from you, and I've watched them just bloom.
They have. I mean, it's been really amazing, and that's just two examples of just, taking that step to get people involved, to say you can do this, and I'll support you in doing it. And now they're just thriving, and now they're impacting and influencing so many other people, really paying it forward. That's what we wanted. That's what we want.
That's
and that's Lugar Series.
That's Lugar Series, and that's what you and I that share, and what means so much to us. And it goes back to what you said about, getting more women involved and encouraging them to participate, getting them out of their own way, getting them to be willing to take risk and find where it all fits and how it comes together.
Yeah. Well, and on the flip side of that, it's getting more men to say women's names behind closed doors. I really work with a lot of men to get them really comfortable about promoting the females on their team by name. That when they go into meetings, or when they sit on stages, or when they are that when they're writing emails, to please give the credit. Please give the credit to your female counterparts.
And I think that's one of the barriers that we're still overcoming is to encourage men to promote women.
Yeah.
I think that, to your point earlier, so many men are role models and mentors, yet getting them to put them with the right titles, perhaps. Right.
I'll never forget. I sat in a room where I had written a strategic plan and had handed it off, and sat in a board meeting where it was passed off as their strategic. That's happened to you?
Exactly happened to me. I remember sitting in Vice President Coyle's office in a senior staff meeting, and I mentioned to the male sitting next to me, an idea, and he presented it as his own in that room within like 5 minutes. And I was like, oh, that's never happening again.
Do you know that's the same response I had? This will never happen again in any room that I sit in. And it happened again. But here's how I handled it.
Oh, I gotta know.
When he was done presenting the information, I said, and if you have any questions about any of the material in it, you're welcome to ask me.
Oh, wow. How did he handle that?
Oh, it was obvious to everybody in the room who had written the strategy. And I just thought to myself, you're not going to do this again. It wasn't the same person, different person. But I thought, I have to be an example.
So did he, I have to ask more, did he sabotage you or have any recourse with you later outside the room or say anything?
Oh, we had words. I mean, when we left the room, I said, don't you ever do that to me again. This was the first time it happened.
Yeah.
Don't you ever do that to me again.
What about the guy that you?
Well, the second one, when I said, to the people in the room, if you have any questions, you're which was a subtle way of saying.
Yes. I just wondered how the guy reacted.
There were no words after that.
There wasn't. It wasn't necessary.
I made my point in the meeting that this is something that I created, and it would have been fine if he would have said
been a partner about it.
Right. It said we created this together. I would have been fine, but to take full credit. Those are the barriers. Those are the things that we need to overcome. I think women do it better, but I think we can help.
We're better team builders, I think, sometimes.
We can
I say that carefully, but I love to build teams. I love to help people work together and to help push people outside their comfort zones. And so, that's one of the things that it's just fun.
It is fun. I was working with one of the women on my team, and I knew she could be a good public speaker. She just had it, like you just saw it, and she was just really, I can't do it. And she ended up speaking at a national conference in front of 300 people. And I just, I had my back up against the wall in the back of the room, and the tears were just, I'm like, you know what? We just need somebody to believe in us. We need somebody to tell us we can do this.
Well, Brenda, I believe in you, and I want you to know that. And I'm so glad that, I think it was Lugar Series or politics, or I'm not even sure that I can pinpoint the day that our words collided, but I'm really excited and happy for that. Right. I'm going to ask you our speedball or our speed round questions for the Lugar Series that we ask everybody as we wind up a seat at the table. So one word or phrase, but these are don't think too much.
Okay,
questions.
I'm going to just what's on top of my mind.
How would you define your leadership style?
I would say collaborative.
What motivates you?
Well, I kind of already answered this, but I'm going to say it again. It's a phrase. When people's personal agendas get in the way of the greater good.
Yep.
That's my challenge.
Yep. Well, and then it says what challenges you. So you've answered that as well. Indiana in one word. And don't say IU football.
I'm going to say, national championship.
The Natty.
Mendoza.
I'm so jealous.
I'm going to say resilience.
I like that. A word for the current and next generation of women leaders.
Influential.
And the Lugar Series in one word.
Transformational.
Thanks, Brenda. Thank you again for joining us today and sharing more about your leadership journey, your commitments to Fort Wayne, and your continued impact across Indiana, and especially in the Northeast corner. Please tune in every Tuesday as we highlight more Lugar Series women, impactful, real stories heard exclusively on the Lugar Series, A Seat at the Table. So pull up a chair and join us.